Something is happening to a very specific group of people in 2026. Not to everyone. Not evenly across the full spectrum of human consciousness currently present on this planet. Not in ways that are immediately visible to ordinary observation or measurable by the instruments of conventional science, but to a particular kind of soul, recognizable by a particular quality of inner experience that has characterized their entire life, not just the recent months. Something is accelerating with a speed and an intensity that many of them have never encountered before. Old souls. That is the name the Pleiadians use, though every tradition that has ever taken seriously the reality of soul development across multiple lifetimes has its own name for the same essential recognition. The ancient mystery schools spoke of initiated souls. Indigenous traditions around the world have their own terms for those who carry the wisdom of many lifetimes. The Vedic traditions describe souls at particular stages of a development that extends across countless incarnations. And in many contemporary spiritual communities, the language of starseeds and way showers and light carriers points toward the same underlying reality. Different names, the same recognition, that certain souls arrive in each incarnation carrying something that a single lifetime of experience cannot account for. A quality of awareness that has no adequate origin in the biographical facts of one particular life. A depth of understanding that preceded the education and the experience that could theoretically have produced it. Compassion that has been burned into the soul not by years of this particular lifetime's learning, but by the accumulated weight of understanding what suffering is from the inside, across lifetimes of genuine engagement with it. In 2026, these souls are waking up. And they are waking up faster than any previous period in the living memory of those who study the longer patterns of soul development and planetary evolution. The Pleiadians say this is not accidental, and understanding why it is happening now, why 2026 specifically, why this moment in the extraordinary and accelerating shift that is currently underway on this planet, changes everything about how this period is experienced. From something confusing and disorienting and difficult to navigate, into something that, while still demanding, carries a quality of recognition. Of finally, after a very long time, arriving at exactly the moment and the circumstances that the entire long preparation has been building toward. Stay with this transmission all the way to the end. Because what the Pleiadians say about the specific role that old souls will play in what comes next, and the specific recognition they want to offer to those who have been carrying the weight of this kind of development for a very long time, is the most personally significant part of everything they want to communicate today. Why are old souls waking up faster in 2026? The answer has several layers, and each layer, when understood clearly, adds something important to the picture of what is actually happening and what it means. The first layer is the most straightforward. The rising solar frequencies of the current period are acting most powerfully on the inner systems that are most prepared to receive them. This is the law of resonance operating at a cosmic scale. Higher frequencies, moving through a field, interact most directly with the elements of that field that are already vibrating at frequencies closest to their own. Not because the higher frequencies ignore or bypass those that are less aligned with them. They move through everything. But the depth of activation they produce, the degree to which they trigger genuine development and genuine expansion, is directly proportional to the readiness of the system being activated. Old souls are, by definition, the members of the human family who have built the most developed inner architecture through the longest span of accumulated development. The preparation of many lifetimes has created inner systems capable of resonating with frequencies that less developed systems simply cannot yet process at the same depth. And the extraordinary solar environment of 2026, the most energetically significant period in modern human history, according to the Pleiadians, is activating those systems with a power and a precision that is producing acceleration of a kind that has not been available before. The second layer is more subtle. The timing of the current planetary shift is not arbitrary. It has been carefully and deliberately prepared for across a span of development that makes any individual human lifetime look very small. And part of that preparation involved the accumulation, in physical incarnation on this planet at this specific time, of a critical mass of sufficiently developed souls whose presence in the field would contribute the frequency required to support the shift. Old souls are here, in significant numbers, in 2026, not by accident. They chose this incarnation at a level of awareness that precedes ordinary human consciousness, specifically because this moment in the evolution of this planet is the moment for which their entire long development has been preparing them. The moment when the specific capacities they have built, the specific understanding they have earned, the specific quality of consciousness they have developed, is precisely what is needed and precisely what the rising frequencies are calling forward. The acceleration they are experiencing is, in this understanding, partly the planet recognizing that they are here, the field responding to the presence of the souls who agreed to show up for this specific chapter of the planetary story, the cosmic process beginning to activate in the souls who are ready for it, the capacities it has been building in them for exactly this purpose. The third layer is perhaps the most immediately practical. Old souls in 2026 are waking up faster because the conditions that previously suppressed their waking are losing their effectiveness. For most of human history, the frequency conditions of this planet have been organized around density, around the suppression of the capacities of consciousness that go beyond ordinary sensory perception and ordinary rational thought. The veil that has kept most of what human consciousness genuinely is from being accessible to ordinary human awareness has been thick and effective and maintained by conditions, cultural, energetic, systemic, that made breakthrough consistently difficult even for the most developed souls. Those conditions are changing. The veil is thinning, not because of any single event or any particular individual's achievement, but because the accumulated development of millions of souls over thousands of years of consistent inner work has raised the collective frequency of the field to a point where the maintenance of the old density is no longer sustainable. The suppressive conditions that kept even the most developed souls from accessing more than glimpses of what they genuinely are losing their grip. And old souls, whose development has been straining against those conditions throughout this lifetime and throughout many previous ones, are finding that what was once suppressed is now able to emerge. What was once blocked is now moving. What was once glimpsed only in rare moments of unusual clarity is becoming more consistently available. This is why the waking is accelerating. The restraints are loosening, and the consciousness that has been pressing against them for a very long time is finally, increasingly, breaking through. What does this acceleration actually look like from the inside? The first aspect is what the Pleiadians describe as a sudden and remarkable clarity about purpose. Old souls have always carried a sense of purpose, not always articulable, not always comfortable, frequently inconvenient and sometimes quite disruptive to the ordinary plans and expectations of an ordinary life, but present, persistent, a quality of inner direction that could be suppressed but never entirely extinguished, that returned no matter how many times practical necessity or social pressure argued for setting it aside. In 2026, for many old souls, something about this purpose is clarifying, becoming more specific, moving from a felt direction toward a more concrete recognition of what the work actually is. Not necessarily arriving as a complete and comprehensive blueprint. The Pleiadians are careful about this, because the idea of a complete blueprint can create the unhelpful expectation of total certainty before movement begins. But arriving as enough specificity to take the next genuine step, and then the one after that. The clarity that is arriving is not the certainty of the analytical mind. It is the certainty of the deeper knowing, the sense that says, this. Not because all the questions have been answered or all the obstacles have been resolved, but because something in the soul recognizes the direction with a clarity that exceeds the need for those answers and resolutions. The second aspect is a rapid completion of long-standing patterns. Old souls in 2026 are reporting that things which have been in process for years, sometimes for decades, are suddenly completing with a speed that surprises even those who have been doing the most consistent and most committed inner work. Patterns of relationship that seem to have no available resolution are suddenly finding it. Patterns of inner conflict that had been managed but never quite resolved are moving to genuine completion. Old wounds that have been worked with for years through sustained effort are finding a depth of healing that all that sustained effort somehow never quite reached. This is the acceleration effect of the rising frequencies. Higher frequencies move energy through systems faster. They do not bypass the genuine work that needs to be done. Nothing the Pleiadians describe constitutes a shortcut that makes the genuine inner work unnecessary. But they create conditions in which the genuine work that has already been done can complete in ways that it could not have completed in the lower frequency environment of previous periods. For old souls who have been doing the work consistently, this creates a remarkable feeling of things coming together, of the long patience of sustained development suddenly beginning to bear fruit in ways that feel, from the inside, like long-held questions are finally answering themselves. The third aspect is an opening of what might be called the memory of origin. This is perhaps the most subtle and the most difficult to describe in the language of ordinary experience. Because what many old souls in 2026 are beginning to access goes beyond the ordinary categories of memory or knowledge or understanding. It has the quality of recognition, of touching something that is genuinely familiar but that has not been consciously available in this incarnation. A quality of knowing that arrives not as information received from outside, but as something remembered from inside. Something that was always there, encoded at levels of the soul's awareness that ordinary consciousness does not reach, beginning to surface into the accessible dimensions of experience. What is being remembered is not specific biographical information from previous lifetimes, though such experiences do sometimes occur. It is something more fundamental than that, a quality of awareness, a sense of what it is to be more of what one actually is than the conditions of ordinary human incarnation allow. A direct, felt, increasingly accessible recognition of the soul itself, not the personality, not the identity, not the stories accumulated through this lifetime, but the actual consciousness that inhabits all of it and that extends far beyond any of it. This recognition produces what many old souls describe as a simultaneous experience of profound grief and profound liberation. Grief, because the gap between what is remembered and what is currently accessible in ordinary consciousness is genuinely large. The fullness of what is glimpsed in these moments of recognition makes the limitation of ordinary human consciousness feel, by comparison, like a very small room. And liberation, because the recognition itself is proof that the small room is not the whole of what is real, that the limitation is temporary, that the fullness of what is remembered is genuinely and increasingly available, even if not yet continuously accessible. The fourth aspect is the discovery of other old souls. This is one of the most practically significant aspects of the acceleration that is occurring in 2026. Old souls are finding each other, not through any organized effort or intentional search, but through the organic, field-driven process of resonance, the way that souls operating at similar frequencies, in a rising frequency environment, increasingly perceive each other across the noise of ordinary social interaction. The particular quality of attention that old souls carry, The way they engage with the reality of experience without either collapsing into it or defending against it is increasingly recognizable to each other. The specific signatures of developed consciousness become more visible as the frequency of the field rises and the perceptual capacities of developed souls expand. The encounters that result have a quality of recognition that is distinctive and unmistakable. Meeting another old soul, particularly in 2026, is not like ordinary human connection. It carries a quality of already knowing, of genuine mutual recognition, that bypasses the normal process of social acquaintance. The sense that something real is already shared before anything has been said. That the particular territory of inner experience that has felt so difficult to communicate to most people is here, in this encounter, genuinely met and genuinely understood. When these connections form, something happens that goes beyond ordinary human friendship or even extraordinary human friendship. The Pleiadians describe it as resonance activation, the way that two or more souls operating at aligned frequencies, in genuine connection, amplify each other's capacity in ways that benefit not only themselves but the broader field. The way that genuine resonance between developed souls creates something in the shared space between them that neither could create alone. If you have been finding these connections recently, if people have been appearing who carry something you recognize as genuinely similar to what you carry, in ways that most human encounters have not managed, this is the awakening manifesting in the dimension of relationship. And the fifth aspect, the one that the Pleiadians say is the most important of all, the one that distinguishes the awakening of old souls in 2026 from the development that has been occurring throughout the rest of this lifetime, is what they describe as the emergence of service clarity. Old souls have always wanted to contribute. The desire to be genuinely useful, to make a contribution that actually matters, to offer something that genuinely serves the development of the larger whole. This has been present as a quality of motivation throughout this lifetime and throughout many previous ones. It is one of the defining characteristics of the developed soul. But the specific form of that contribution, the precise way in which the particular gifts and the particular development of this particular soul are meant to express themselves in the world, in the specific circumstances of a specific life currently being lived, this has, for many old souls, remained somewhat unclear, felt, directionally sensed, but not yet specifically enough articulated to constitute a clear mandate for action. In 2026, this is changing. The clarity that is arriving is not about the general desire to contribute. It is about the specific form that the contribution actually takes. About what only you, from where you are, with what you have developed through everything you have been through, are capable of offering. Not what someone else's spiritual framework says your contribution should be. Not what seems most impressive or most significant from the outside, but what is genuinely yours. What arises organically from the specific combination of development and experience and capacity that your particular soul has accumulated through the particular journey of your particular life. This clarity, when it arrives, has a quality of inevitability about it. A sense of recognition rather than decision, of something falling into place that was always going to fall into place eventually. The question was always when, not whether. For many old souls in 2026, the when is now. Are you an old soul? The question, as always, is not answered by any external authority. It is answered in the quiet of your own honest self-examination, by the quality of recognition, or its absence, that arises in response to what has been described here. Not the ego's desire to be classified as something special. Not the mind's attempt to evaluate itself against a set of criteria and determine whether it qualifies. But the quieter, more honest, more immediate response that either does or does not feel like recognition. Like yes, this fits. Like yes, this describes something I have carried without knowing exactly what to call it. If that recognition is present, if something in what has been described here resonates with something you have known about the experience of being alive that most of the ordinary frameworks available to you could not quite account for, the Pleiadians want you to receive something directly. The weight you have been carrying is real. The exhaustion that comes from holding a frequency that the surrounding environment does not support is real. The loneliness of carrying something that most of the people in your life cannot quite see or quite meet is real. And the acceleration you are experiencing now, the speed at which things that were once fixed are becoming movable, the clarity that is arriving about what you are here for, the connections that are forming with souls who carry what you carry, this is real. It is the long preparation arriving at its moment. Everything you have been building across this lifetime and across the lifetimes that preceded it has been building toward this, toward having exactly the capacities that this specific moment in the evolution of this planet requires, toward being able to do what only the souls who have been through what you have been through can do. The acceleration is not going to stop. It is going to continue to intensify as the frequencies continue to rise. And the most useful thing you can do with this knowledge is exactly what you have always done with the knowledge that made genuine difference in your development. Use it. Act on it. Let it move through you into the specific forms of expression and service and genuine contribution that are yours and only yours to offer. The world, in 2026 and in the years that follow, needs what old souls carry. Urgently. Specifically. With a precision of need that matches the precision of the preparation that old souls represent. You are here. You have arrived at the moment your entire development has been building toward. Begin. Take what resonates. Leave what does not. And trust yourself, completely and without apology, to know the difference. This content is offered for spiritual reflection, symbolic interpretation, and personal insight only. It is not presented as scientific fact, medical advice, or a prediction of real-world events. The narration in this video is generated using artificial intelligence voice technology. Please use your own discernment and personal judgment when engaging with this material.